Today, that is a reality. The fourth industrial revolution has become a reality.
The economy and the prices you're paying, and new evidence tonight that you're not imagining things. Prices are going up on everything from groceries to rent.
Into scenes of chaos.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
So bright like Lucifer, now I shine just like Jupiter.
That the faster you improve health, the faster family size goes down.
Welcome back, people. Welcome back. Now we are live to Face the Facts with Israel Nagasi, and it's a Sunday night special, y'all. I'm really happy to reintroduce a very special friend of mine, and somebody I think we all need to get to know on this platform, and even on his own. And I'm gonna introduce him in just a second. But we got a very great episode for y'all, and I'm really excited to bring you back. As you can see, we've upgraded the production on here, and this is just an ever-growing process. So I want y'all to stay tuned. And really, come and enjoy. We can look at the facts and not make it so boring. We have a lot of interesting things to talk about and an interesting way to present it. So here we are with Face the Facts, Israel Nagasi, and right now we have a special guest with us here. We're gonna give you a slight introduction so you can see what he's got going on. And once again, this is Sunday night special. Boom. All right, welcome back to the show, man. We got Christian Mosley, Berean Talks, right here live with us on Face the Facts, man. Go ahead and reintroduce yourself for the people who don't know you.
Man, what's going on?
Everybody?
My name is Christian Mosley.
I'm the host and creator of Berean Talk. The show that I have on YouTube is going to be expanded to other platforms. I talk about Black history, Black politics. I talk about the Bible. I talk about spirituality. I have comedy sketches. So it is a smorgasbord of content, if you will. But I'm on here with Mr. Israel Nagasi on Face the Facts this evening because that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do, and I can't wait to chop it up with you, my brother.
Man, likewise, man. I'm definitely excited, man. Look, the first episode we did, I thought was a good time, and we touched on so many things. It was, around the holiday time, so we got to touch on a lot of different topics that I thought were really, prevalent for today's time and culture. Because, I think it's important that a lot of people know what time it is, and given the times that we were talking about, a lot has changed. It's been about 2-3 weeks since our last live session, so. What we got going on today, I'm sure we have a lot to update people on. And I mean, if you haven't checked out the last episode, I highly encourage people to check the last episode out. It was a great time, great conversation. I really got to know this man on a whole nother level just off of that conversation, and I hope y'all did too, because it's very few people who understand the history behind what's going on and the culture that's necessary to be able to move forward in these times. We as a people, we have nothing but time right now to figure out what it is that we need to do to come together, and we can't rely on anybody else but each other to figure that out. And so I don't know a better platform, and I don't know a better person to do that with right now and having these conversations with than Berean Talks platform and with Christian Mosley himself. I think this is a really good time to do that. And it's Sunday night. This is gonna be better than any church service you'll ever see. So I promise y'all, this is definitely the spot. This is definitely the sermon, the game, the back and forth you need. So sit back and enjoy the show. If y'all have anything to contribute or introduce to the conversation, please, there's a live chat for y'all to cooperate in, and we definitely want to hear some feedback to see if there's anything y'all want to add to the conversation, or hear anything that you guys might want to touch on or talk about that isn't necessarily comfortable talking about with other people. This is the platform to do that. So welcome to the show, Mr. Berean, Mr. Christian himself. We had a really good conversation before we got started, and I think I'm actually kind of upset because a lot of things you was touching on were actually, we should have saved it for the show. I mean, we was going in, and I mean, I don't want to just like jump right back into the middle of the conversation, just kind of have people lost in the sauce, because I mean, context is everything. But I definitely want to elaborate on the last episode, what we were touching on, and kind of carry it on into today. And first things first, the last thing I touched on, and amongst other things, was especially this war with with Russia and what that could spill into as far as where we would stand with World War III and everything. But how do we connect all that with what we've been talking about and what you talk about on your show?
I think that one of the things that's kind of important, and we were talking about this right before we started the show. It has astonished me, after traveling a little bit outside of the country, how ignorant Americans are on what's happening outside of America. Like we don't really know. We kind of know Europe. We kind of think Arabs are the bad guys. We kind of know something's happening with China. They're trying to take over the world, and then some other stuff. But that's only because that's what America tells us. Just to get a glimpse of that, I highly recommend anybody to go look at BBC News. That's just world news. Just go look at world BBC News and see the type of stuff that's going on. It's like, it's way bigger than you. But to kind of bring it home to what you're saying about Russia and everything. So personally, I don't have a whole lot of details on that specific situation or a whole lot of insight. But what I do know is this, that when you start seeing major world players doing certain things, even if you don't necessarily understand it, your antennas need to be up, because that does mean that there are some very major things that are about to start happening, not just because they're even just major superpowers, but also you got to think about who are these superpowers. You're talking about the United States of America, which has its own history, its own character, its own citizens that believe certain types of things, do certain types of things, et cetera, et cetera. And then you got Russia, and you got to understand Russia as a nation and the cultural background and everything else. And then when you realize that these two are at this point, because it's being talked about so much, are at this almost inevitable conflict over seemingly this obscure random nation in Europe that nobody goes to. It should be raising your antennas. Like, why are we? And especially because we just pulled out of Afghanistan, and we realized that was almost like a flashback to Vietnam, a little bit, to that Vietnam conflict. Because after a certain point, we were there, and we were like, we weren't supposed to be there. We weren't supposed to be there. And we weren't supposed to be over there doing what we were doing. But then when we pull out, we leave like this black hole that just leaves this vacuum for all of this stuff to just start happening and people to start coming in. And we make situations worse than they are. So to kind of connect that to my show, it's kind of like, especially as just people that live here in the nation, especially Black people who are kind of at a really big disadvantage, especially when it comes to anything catastrophic happening in the nation. We need to start paying attention to that type of stuff so we can start getting ready here. It's not necessarily so you can go buy a ticket to go move to Fiji or something crazy like that, but it's to get yourself ready, get your mind right, get your families ready, that it's going to be going down here. But if we stick together, I think it's something that we can most definitely deal with and overcome. That's, been our story for the last 400 years. We've overcome pretty much everything. So I don't think that this will be anything that's that out of the ordinary for us.
I agree, brother. And, as much as we've had to go through, as much as history has shown what's capable of our people, I do think this is something we can definitely fight through and definitely be able to get the edge up on, because you know we're definitely resilient people, and that's for damn sure. What I do know though is, scripturally speaking, from my understanding, we're about to enter into times that have never been in history. Scripturally speaking, again, in history there will be no time like this, and never will there ever be ever again, since the beginning of the world, and even after that. Never will we have to go through what we're going through right now, you know, once this is all over. But we're gonna have to go through it, and once we go through it, we got to be able to survive it. And you're right, there's definitely a lot of coming together that needs to happen. And you know, I was really excited to hear what you were you know, having to contribute on your end as far as just the nation's mentality, because again, I was making this point about, you know, every September 11th of every year, we always say as a country, never forget. But you know, it's funny how easy it is for us to forget how vulnerable we were in that moment and how vulnerable we may be in the future. And you know, I'm looking at news reports that are telling us how vulnerable we are and are making it clear that we should expect some danger in the near future, because of what's at stake right now, you know, over this random European nation that nobody cares about, nobody visits. I mean, I don't remember the last time I ever met somebody from Ukraine, let alone went to go visit. So what's so special about that? According to my sources and according to the information I'm getting, way back when Biden was just a vice president, it turns out that he was actually making deals with the Ukrainian president, and as vice president, he was making deals with the Ukrainian president, and he was making deals with the president and his wife. Him and Hunter Biden entered into some agreement that's supposed to be a backroom deal that was considered illegal to the public. So, you know, apparently whatever they dealt on, I don't know what the deal was about, but he even admitted it in front of the Senate and admitted it in front of the press that he basically bullied the president into dropping a charge, dropping a case for a couple $2 billion. He was promising to fund the country, or he was promising to allot some money to the country through Obama's presidency. And in order to get that, he had to drop a case. And so he's like, if you don't get your lawyers to drop this case, or whatever it was they were getting pressed on, we're not going to send you the money, and you're not going to be able to, you know, feed your country essentially. And so that was way back in what, like 2000 and maybe 2009 or something like that. And turns out all the records of the money that was sent over, all the records of their backroom deals are kept within their government's establishment. And rumor is, this is not, you know, official news yet, but this is definitely a strong rumor with some very credible information to back it up, is that Russia wants to use the information in Ukraine to depose Biden and basically put Trump back in office, because this is all kind of connected back to Trump's presidency as far as what he was doing with you know, delegitimizing the election. And you know, right now Wisconsin, believe it or not, Wisconsin actually they recounted the votes, and they actually found evidence on under it was under some type of a legal some legal battle happened where Wisconsin actually found evidence of cheating, and they withdrew, and they actually recalled the election. Wisconsin, at the entire state of Wisconsin withdrew, I guess, the certified votes, and said that these were all fake votes. They're not valid. We can't use these, and it is what it is. Now, this is one of many. Arizona was trying to do that a couple months ago, and they got away with it. So now it's 2 or 3 states right now that have decertified the electoral votes. So what I'm seeing happen is deeper than just Russia and Ukraine. This is going to hit home, not just because of the power outages and all the stuff that they're threatening, like the cyber attacks, which they've already did with the fucking oil pipelines. And not only that, but they even attacked the meat supply chain. Like, they attacked some huge meat supply company, and that was apparently the reason why the meat prices are going up. But long story short, cyber attacks have hit the country already, and we felt that on a minor scale with gas prices and meat supply and stuff like that. But now they're threatening to cut off the power supply because, you know, Russia has apparently this amazing weapon that can shut down the internet and, you know, basically give us all this the hack of the century, basically. And this isn't just like an empty threat. I mean, we've already seen this happen twice within the last year, and they blamed Russia both times. Now we're seeing them blame Russia for an impending attack, and they're telling us, hey, look, be prepared. They're not telling us anymore. It's like it's a possibility. They're saying be prepared. So we're about to face an attack on this nation that what senators in the United States government are saying right now is equivalent to a nuclear bomb or equivalent to a bomb. The consequences are the same, because if you shut down the power grid, I mean, that's the economy. This country is based on its ability to consume and move money.
That's an act of,
you know, so the consequences of that, I mean, I don't think anybody is completely aware of how deep that runs. It's not just a matter of you can't just go to the grocery store. It's a matter of, I mean, critical infrastructure could be destroyed because power can't be supplied to the homes, power can't be supplied to the stores, power can't be supplied to the cities. I mean, think about all the hospitals that are keeping people on life support, all the millions of deaths that are going to occur. Not just from the hospitals, but just from, in general, just people that require that. The economy is digital now. The stock market is operating off of computers. So you cut the power supply, you cut the damn economy off, you just cut the world off, because whatever happens here in the United States happens to the world. It's not just the states that get hit. The whole world is operating off the dollar. So if we get messed up, the whole world gets messed up. And mind you, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, have already simulated a global power shutdown. Just like how they simulated, you know, the COVID-19 pandemic like a few months beforehand.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Yep. They already simulated the consequences. The International Monetary Fund, along with the United States, the UK, Israel, Pakistan, all these different, you know, world leaders came together. 10 nations, 10 superpowers came together and simulated this. And they're saying, okay, if we get hit with a, not if, but when we get hit with a cyber attack, this is what's going to happen. This is what we got to do. This is how we're going to restructure. So, yeah, in 1 hour, it's very possible. Mind you, not only that, think about the defense grid. I mean, the military. Without power, without electricity, what are they going to do? How are they going to defend the nation if, you know, if their early missile detection systems, you know, need power to operate? Like, all these different possibilities that could, like, just the possibilities are crazy. And
it's a sick chain reaction.
It is a chain reaction, exactly. And that's the problem, is like, because everything is so connected, it's too big of a picture for a lot of people to connect. They just think, so what? You know, these are empty threats. We had empty threats. We've been getting empty threats since, you know, 1999, since 2000, ever since, you know, the world was supposed to end back in 99. You know, the world was supposed to end back in 2000. The world was supposed to end in, you know, so-and-so in 2012. You know, but we're in a situation now where you can't even go to most major cities and buy or sell right now because you don't have a vaccine to protect you from a virus that is easily beatable for a lot of people. I'm not saying everybody, but for the majority. And we're kind of in a situation now where nothing makes sense anymore, and everybody's just kind of like trying to get back to normal. Let's just go back to work. Let's just go back to this. Let's just go back to that. Let's just kick it and, you know, watch TV or play video games, or, you know, let's just act as if nothing is going on, because we've heard so much shit before. We've heard them talk before. What makes this any different?
I think it's that. I think it's also because everything that's happened is so astronomical. It's kind of like you're looking at a freight train coming towards you.
That part.
Somebody tells, go ahead, stop it. Go ahead, stop it.
It's like there's nothing that I can do about it. So let me just temporarily remove myself from reality, because I already know about the inevitable. Because, like, even if let's say right now 100,000 people got together and they were like, we're 100% against getting involved with Ukraine, 100% against getting involved with Russia and everything else. You are this compared to the United States military. And a lot of people don't understand that. And I think even with the attacks that had happened, like even when that pipeline got shut down on the East Coast, like I remember thinking to myself, I was like, they are not playing with us anymore. Like because if it was like a real, like, we're gonna shut everything down, we starting a war, I think they would have done it. I think that they've been testing some things on us to kind of see, like, all right, how's this going to work on them? How's this going to work? And because Americans are very dependent, because most of us don't grow our own food. Everybody isn't hunting and raising their own cattle and raising their own gardens and collecting rainwater, and like nobody's really doing that anymore. So what you got to think about is, like, I know people that are like, that will tell me things like, you get meat from the store, and why would you go hunting if you can go get meat from the store? It's like what?
So I mean, at this point, it's weird to go hunting. Like, you can't even, like, imagine somebody going out to their backyard shooting a deer. And it's like, are you gonna eat that?
That's the best, but it's the best stuff for you.
That's as natural as it gets. That's as organic as it gets.
Let's farm to table.
Hey, but look, all I do is talk politics on this show. But the reason why, we're incorporating you on the show is because you're offering a perspective that a lot of people don't necessarily have. And I have a conversation with you that I don't get to have with most people. I only have a handful of friends that I really can say I talk to, maybe 3 or 4. I can count on one hand, how many people I could talk to on this level. But, again, we're going to tie this in. It's the Sunday special. So we're going to tie this in as far as, scripturally speaking, the things that we've learned, being, Hebrew Israelites, being, scripturally adequate and scripturally, aware of the times we had to look forward to. And honestly, where I see these conversations going, I don't even think a lot of Hebrew Israelites are on. And that's kind of why I've kind of distanced myself from that title, because yes, I do identify scripturally with the Torah, and I definitely, identify scripturally with Yahuwah. And I definitely, I understand that he is the Most High, and he is the King of all nations, period, the world. That's the part where I stand in agreement with. But when what we're moving towards is deeper than just, I would say, as far as their organization is concerned, I haven't seen too much of a solution, if that makes sense. I understand, obeying the law is a solution. I mean, at the end of the day, when we face judgment, the only thing we can do is, bow our heads and say, okay, well, this is how I'm judged accordingly to the law. This is what it is. It is what it is. And that's the final solution, is just obey the commandments, and that's it. That's how we find ultimate salvation, period. But, for a lot of the people that I do talk to that aren't into the scriptures, or aren't really studying scripture, or aren't really paying attention to what's going on scripturally, they may say, well, I'm a good person, or, I don't think God could do all that, or, there was no way that he could, look at me this kind of way or that kind of way. And it's the most frustrating conversation, because it's like, first off, I mean, I can't even explain to them that they're calling on a pagan name when they say God this and God that. And it's just like, all right, that's a different conversation. But I'll work with them, right? If you're going to call on God, you're going to call on Jesus. Okay, cool. Even the Jesus that you believe in the scriptures that you're talking about said that if you love me, you'll keep my commandments, right? If you obey the commandments, that's how I know you love the people who are doers of the word, not what? So, and that concept, whether it be my own family, whether it be friends, whoever, that's a concept, a very basic concept that still is very, very lost in the general public. And that's just from immediate circle. I'm not even talking about the world. Like the world, I mean, that there's a whole gap between what's going on in scripture versus the world. But I've learned to look at things and try to see things as best as I can, as the Mashiach would, and understand, okay, well, look, we're in dark times. This is the lost generation, you could say. I mean, our women are growing up looking at, prostitutes for, motivation. I mean, we have Meg Thee Stallion, Cardi B, all these different women that are promoting these identities. Our children are looking at that, you know, the men, they're promoting drug dealing, pimping, all these different crazy ideas of what it means to be a man. So it's like mentally as a culture, we're destroyed. And that's not even talking on a spiritual level, just on a common sense level. So I find myself talking to the younger generation about things, and I'm saying, hey, do you know about this? Do you know about that? And they're just kind of like, huh? I'm just like they don't know what the hell's going on at all. Like, if it ain't about Fortnite, if it ain't about PlayStation, if it ain't about, you know, maybe some music, you know what I'm saying? Like, what it, they don't, you know what I mean? Like, they're not really hip to what's going on. Like, I try my best to educate them on what's going on and why it's important. Because I was like that too when I was a kid. I didn't care about what the hell was going on in the news. I was like, man, who cares? It's just nonsense. Like, life's good. I'm in school. I'm kicking it. Da, 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 da. Like, you know, I'm eating. Da, 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 da. Like, why do y'all watch this crap? You know what I mean? And now I'm not even 30 yet. And I'm just like, what? This is crazy. Like, news is the craziest show on television. I'm not gonna lie. It's the most dramatic, craziest show on television I've ever seen. And the sad thing is they're trying to play it off as reality. And so I'm like, all right, if this is supposed to be reality, what the hell is going on in reality? We stuck up on reality TV and, you know, music videos and cartoons and, you know, whatever TV shows, Netflix, but it's like, this is reality right now. And how are we processing this as a whole? And how do we process this, you know, being as scripturally literate as we've been, and we're still growing, of course, but the fact that we know as much as we do and we see what time it is, it's like, how do you process what's happening in the world and still keep a level head?
You don't. Not playing. I mean, honestly, I don't think that there's like one way to really answer this. I'll say the way that it's been for me is understanding that there's an element of responsibility to, you know, like, love your neighbor as yourself, take care of other people, to make sure other people around you are taken care of. But it also comes to a point where it's like you kind of have to be in a self-preservation mode because you know what time it is, so to speak. So you're kind of thinking about, like, wow, everybody is kind of like, okay, we're going to bring this back to scripture, right? So it says, just as it was in the days of Noah, so will it be when the Son of Man returns, right? And then, of course, you got to go back into Genesis to even know what that means. And then when you read about it, you read that they were wilding. They were, you know, drinking and orgies and doing wild stuff with animals. And, like, it was everything. And it even goes so far as to say that every thought in man's head was evil, which is, like, I can't imagine being that horrible and that wicked. But then the crazy part is that it says that also in the days of Noah, when the flood was coming, that people were literally having weddings. Like, it was like a regular day. They were giving in marriage. They were having celebrations and different things. So it was another day. So I think what a lot of people think is going to happen is that when it comes, it's going to be when, like, the whole thing,
like, all at once,
right? Where all of it comes down, all at once. Everybody thinks it's going to be like, all right, the whole world is going to stop. Everybody's going to stop. It's going to be a pause. Everybody's going to recognize what's happening, and then we're going to go, you know, do what we got to do. And that's not really what it's. It's like the people that aren't aware of what's going on, the people that are ignorant, you're just going to be doing regular stuff when that day approaches. You're not even going to be remotely ready. Like, I'm not planning a wedding the day that I think Mashiach is coming back and I need to be hiding in a rock somewhere. Like, that's not the moves for me. So I think a lot of people
tell that to the elites, man, because they already got their bunkers ready. They know what's coming. They trying to hit them. They trying to hit Mars right now. They trying to leave Earth.
They trying to get out of it. They know what time it is.
And that's the fucked up part. Nobody once asked, why are all these rich people trying to leave the Earth? Like, I know it's cool to go to space, but it's like, you know, that's an experience, sure. But it's like, why are they trying so damn hard to go to Mars? And why are they trying so damn hard to leave this planet? Like, they know what's coming, and they're trying to, like, skirt. Like the whole.
I think it's that, but I also think it's like, so if you look at the people that are doing it, I think it also might be like a colonist mentality where it's like, if they can get to Mars, this could be the next gold rush. There might be some sort of mineral, a metal, some sort of like something, a molecule of something that is up there that's super valuable. And if they can get the head start on it, they can get rich. And so, but I did hear somebody say something. He was like, listen, if there's any way for you to take advantage of people like this new space race to Mars, he said, this was so cold. He said, the richest person during the, what do they call it? The gold rush in California wasn't the people finding the gold. It was the shovel salesman. Because all you got to do is, like, you already got a captive audience for something like this. So what if you can be the company? And that's what these are the people that are really making like the big money plays. The people that are going to get the fuel for these rockets, the people that are building the wings, the people that build the different screws that go into the suits that you got to wear when you, like, all of that, like, just it's just like the same thing, kind of like with war. Like Winchester, oh man, I got something in my eye. Winchester and Glock and this brand and that brand and that brand. If you get a contract with the United States government because they don't went and invaded somewhere and they're going to need 500, half a million of these specific handguns, what kind of interest are you going to have in wanting to make sure that war is still going on over there?
You know what messed me up, man? I was doing some research on World War II. Watched a few documentaries, and I watched a lot of different sources for some perspective. And Henry Ford, right, owner of the Ford company, turns out he was servicing not just the American military with military grade trucks and tanks and vehicles and all that kind of stuff with the engines. He was servicing the Nazis too. And there were a lot of different American corporations that were servicing the Nazis. Colgate, Ford, I don't remember what other corporations built up their equipment, but they had a lot of money invested in the Nazi party. They were like one of the heaviest suppliers. Every truck and every tank that was running off of an engine, they were having custom built from Henry Ford himself, and he was making bank. And I'm just like, see, now we're gonna start talking business. The reason why I approach America so critically is because our civilians think that America is a nation and they don't think about it as a business. The elites that operate, under this country, under federal law, operate as a business. These corporations, they're not worried about boundaries and borders. They don't care about that. There's a reason why they have, and I mentioned this on a previous episode, that they're not worried about principles or borders. They're worried about profit. And if they can get cheaper labor overseas, they're going to do that. That's why they're moving factories over there. That's why they have China producing damn near 70-80% of the global production. I mean, there's a reason for that, because it's cheaper labor there. That saves them money. They have faster output, and they can ship that stuff right back over here and get paid for the taxes and they're making so much money off of the foreign desperation at this point. Foreign slavery. That's what it was called in a lot of mainstream articles. It was slavery. Like, they were just basically making money off of slavery. And what it's coming down to is this. These corporations have become so damn powerful. They damn near, it's not damn near, they run the country. Like, this country is a corporation, and this country relies on corporations. That's why we have a stock market, because our economy, our money, which is the blood flow of this nation, is based upon how well money moves throughout the corporations and the publicly traded corporations, like stock markets like NASDAQ, Dow Jones, S&P 500. These are all lists of the top five, like S&P 500, the top 500 performing corporations in the country. The NASDAQ, some of the biggest tech industry, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, all these huge tech companies that are listed under these corporations or under these indexes. These stock indexes. these are basically a conglomerate of corporations that keep this country alive. And if any one of them were to fall, just like in 2008 with the Lehman Brothers, if any one of these little, companies were to fall, corporations were to fall, it's a domino effect. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, this bank don't work. That means that these loans don't work. These loans don't work. That means these corporations don't work. These corporations don't work. That means that these jobs don't work. And if these jobs don't work, that means these civilians don't work. And if these civilians don't work, that means our tax dollars can't get collected. And if we don't have no tax dollars, boom, there goes the country. Domino. You can't pay the bills. You can't, pay the mortgage. You can't eat. You can't, you can't sleep because you're so damn stressed out. So what's going to end up happening? Crime. Now, if there's crime everywhere, what's going to happen? We need a military or we need police. How you going to pay them if ain't nobody, producing any income or any? It's a domino effect. And that's how we get into chaos. And we almost stepped into that in 2008. That's why they bailed out these banks. Now we're in 2020 and we're about to step into that again. That's why they had to extend the debt limit. That's why coronavirus hit us the way it did, because we're trying to buy time right now, because America's been living off of credit. We've been living off of buying time. And scripturally speaking, nobody, the wages of sin are death, right? The wages of debt is death. Like, the longer we keep carrying this debt out, like, where is this debt going to? Where is this, where's all this ownership going to? Where's all this power being sucked up by? And we're seeing the times change where it's like, okay, well, we're a productive country. We know that, right? We have these innovative jobs. We have these innovative sectors. What do we need to do to keep up with our debt? We need to make transactions so fast. We need to make life so fast. We need to be able to keep up with the world so fast at a point where our debt doesn't have to catch up with us. So we got to introduce a new economic system. Out with the old, in with the new, because we have to keep up with the times. We have to keep up with this debt. We have to keep up with this race for time. That's what money is just buying time. Like, we exchange in commerce, right? We use cash now. We all agreed to use cash to exchange our value of time, because you had to, you had to put an amount of a certain amount of labor, hours. You had to put an amount of hours at a job or wherever to get a certain amount of money. Your hours were valued at a certain price. You take that price. You take, let's say it costs you $20 an hour to work this job. You work 10 hours. That's $200, right? So you made $200 in 10 hours? You take those 10 hours and now you want to buy you some groceries. So you just instead of growing the food yourself within a matter of weeks, you went ahead and just spent 10 hours working and paid somebody else, another service, to do that work for you so that you can worry about other things. So we're just trading time right now. And right now, everybody's running out of time. There's a reason why parents can't stay at home and it's single family homes and, even two parent homes. Both parents are working right now because everybody's running out of time. It takes more time at work to supply the home with food and necessities and this and that for a lot of people. It's time. Time is money. Money is time. And we're running out of time. Literally, like last week, I think. I don't know if you pay attention to this thing. It's called the Doomsday Clock. They literally have a Doomsday Clock. Have you heard about that?
It sounds familiar, but I always thought that it was some sort of joke.
If I pull it up, I might be able to show it to you, but I don't want this thing to start lagging on me. But I'm gonna send it to you. Google Doomsday Clock. See what comes up. It'll say something like 100 seconds to midnight.
See. I see one from the bulletin.org.
Yep, 100 seconds.
Yep, 100 seconds to midnight. What?
What source are you looking at right now?
The bulletin.
The bulletin.org.
That's a decent source. There should be others, but that's a good source. Or a mainstream one, at least.
Oh, this is crazy. That's crazy. They actually did that.
Yeah, they started that back when like the atomic bomb was invented, and so they were trying to like basically make a countdown to symbolically show how close we are to the, like, you know, all-out nuclear warfare. So that's why we, you know, we had all these different peace treaties and agreements to basically calm that shit down, because the Cold War had everybody on edge. But we've been on a Cold War for, I mean, it never stopped. We've still been in a Cold War, but it's 2020, or when 2020 hit, I think the world understood, like, all right, it's time for a change. Economically speaking, we're going towards a digital phase. We're going to model the country after the world after China. And these, you know, global power elites, CFR, you know, the United Nations, all these different, you know, international organizations decided it's time to follow through with Agenda 21, Agenda 2030. These are publicly available documents. And they're saying it's time. The fourth industrial revolution is time. And, you know, depopulation being a part of that event or agenda is necessary, because useless eaters, right? That's the term that they want to call the in debt or the unproductive for the economy. But essentially what they're doing is they're cleaning up the world of all the riffraff. And now we have all these different pandemics. Now we have the threat of World War III. And that's what they're saying on mainstream news. They're saying that Ukraine's invasion will be catastrophic for the U.S. and not just for the U.S. but for the world, because it's not just the U.S. involved in that. NATO is a collection of European nations. It's a European organization, alliance. It's a European alliance that's sworn to protect Ukraine from any type of invasion. And
that's right. They made that treaty. Yeah.
And the U.S. got involved and partnered with NATO and said, look, we'll not only send supplies. Now we have 8,500 troops ready to go. And believe it or not, Fort Bragg was on the news the other day. They were saying the 8,500 troop, huh?
I saw it.
I saw it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, how's Fayetteville doing right now? How y'all doing right now, man? What's the conversation like out there? Because it's like, y'all have 8,500 troops ready to go. What are the families talking about? What are people talking about right now?
You know what? It's
a little bit creepy. I mean, I haven't talked to anybody that had anybody deployed, but I will say it's a little creepy, because it's like, I remember when I was younger, when people were about to get deployed, it was kind of a bigger deal made about it. Or people would be like, you know, all right, some more troops getting sent to Afghanistan, Iraq, blah blah blah.
But this was
it just seemed so quiet, and it was creepy, because it was just like,
I don't know how to explain it. I
just remember I saw it. It was real brief in a news article, because I get like local news notifications on my phone. So I remember seeing it, and it was like, yeah, it was like a few thousand troops before Brad gets sent over to Ukraine. And I'm like, because I remember it were talks. And then I was like, I remember the last thing I heard before I even saw that was Biden was thinking about sending troops over there. Then I see they're getting sent over there. And it was like, we just gonna act like this didn't just happen? Like what? And then I saw another friend of mine, or somebody that I'm friends with on Facebook, and they showed that on certain highways throughout the states, you know how they have like CCTV on certain highways? So for whatever reason, these cameras that we pay for with our taxes, the government, whoever is doing it, they are shutting the cameras off, I guess, so we don't see the convoys that are supposedly going through these highways. So this like, so you're like, so you can see like a screen, it's got like 10 little screens in it from all these different cameras, and at random, it'll be like 4 of them will go out on like one highway, and it'll be like that for like a couple of hours.
And then it gets back to normal.
And then it gets back to normal. It's like I've seen a convoy before, but what about this convoy don't y'all want me to see?
You know what's crazy? Man, They've been reporting on that all over. I know, like, a lot of the times, military uses the railroads to transport equipment and stuff like that is common. But I will tell you this. I was driving out of Fayetteville a few times. Like, the few times that I was making my trips from DC to Fayetteville and back. I remember one time I was driving out of Fayetteville and I did see a convoy. Like, it was like a whole line. Like, it was like a good maybe 30 trucks full of soldiers. And they was all going up north. And I was just like, huh. And I don't know if this is on the DC protest time or when they had when the insurrection happened. I think for like maybe a week or two after, they had like a lot of National Guard and stuff like that. But I just remember seeing a lot of like there was a lot of movement on the highways. And I just remember looking them in the eyes, and I was like driving past them. I was just like, damn, like what they prepared to do, like what's about to happen? Because I've never seen that much movement in my in my life. And I know, again, this is coming out of a military town, but I mean, it was just a lot going on. But I will say this: that eeriness, that quietness is definitely like, all the rumors about World War III happening. And mind you, I was one of those guys that was like trying to get everybody hip to, at least my loved ones. I was trying to get everybody hip. Like, World War III is about to break off. I've been preaching that since 2020. World War III is about to break off. Russia, China, Iran, all these different people are about to, really set shit off with the U.S. And all I'm getting met with is, man, they ain't about to do shit. They can't touch the U.S. They can't do this. They can't do that. But it's like, and I understand they were in the military. I know it's a military town. We have this strong confidence. But it's like, I mean, if y'all understand that it's not really about nation versus nation, but even if it is, if they're going on the news, like Biden literally just went on, like, I think a week ago and said, Russia's military is actually something to be worried about. And I was just like, oh, you just going to go ahead and admit that to the world? Like, yeah, they do have a strong military, so if they were to attack, just know this: they would be met with some of the strongest sanctions of their lives. And it's like, wait, so you're telling me that if they do attack, that all you're gonna, like, in America, if they hit American soil, because they have hypersonic missiles, they have all kinds of crazy shit going on over there. Mind you, they also have China as an ally with over, what, 2 million soldiers, something like that. So they're doing all right as far as, military strength is concerned, according to the public media's description of their situation. But, I mean, I heard that and I was like, okay, you gotta be an idiot to be in the military right now. I'm not gonna hold my tongue. I'm sorry, but you really gotta be an idiot to be in the military right now. And I'm only saying that because there was a time where I almost joined, and just taking the time to look back on things, I'm glad I didn't. That shit is, I mean, at this point, it's mental retardation at this point. Like, either you just love your country to death, literally, or you're just about some money, and that's it. And you're gonna make your money and then probably end up regretting it in the near future. But what I'm saying is, with the times we're in, yeah, we're at war mentally, psychologically, spiritually, economically, all that. But when this really all starts to break off for real, I'd rather be with the people I care for and the people that I have a mission to fulfill with, than fight for a country that don't give a damn about me, that don't give a damn about my future, that don't give a damn about nothing, right? I mean, I see the way they treat their veterans. The shit is shit. Like, it's shit. I don't see how they can still keep any pride in the country that they've served after being treated the way they've been treated. The military does open up a lot of opportunities and doors if you know how to use it, but at the same time, for the most part, it treats their people like shit. And I don't really see the whole benefit. I don't really get it. And I'm at a point now where I'm just kind of seeing everything that I'm warning against come into life. And I'm sad because I have a lot of people that I want to see make it through all this without any controversy, but I see that's not going to be possible. So ultimately what it's coming down to is this: we took the time to look for ourselves. We used our minds. We looked into what's going on scripturally. We looked into what's going on in the world, like realistically. We put it together that, all right, this might be a little bit bigger than just another conspiracy, or just a little bit bigger than another moment in time that we can just, another hard time. generations upon generations have gone through hard times, but what we're about to get into is about to turn into something beyond our understanding. And what it's going to take to fight that is what I want to get into at some point in these episodes, on these Sunday specials, because I think these conversations need to be made public. What's the solution? You know, what's the solution, Israel? What's the solution, Christian? What are we going to do? Even if it is true, even if it is World War III, even if it is the end of the world, what are we going to do? You know, how do you answer that question?
I mean, there's a lot of ways.
There's a lot of ways that you can answer that question, like scripturally. Like, okay, so you got to think about who. I think first you got to define who are you in the scenario, right? Are you the gung ho American that's like, I'm fighting for American freedom and values and making sure America is the greatest nation on the face of the earth? Then your role might be a little bit different, and what you believe that you should be doing is going to be a little bit different. If you feel like F the whole system and screw everybody, and I'm an anarchist and I want to bring down America and all that, there's a role for you, and there's something, you know, you got to do some other things. But I think for those of us who are more focused on the Most High, what He wants for us, what His will is for our lives, we kind of look at this with like, we kind of take everything with a grain of salt. Like, okay, we can't act like this isn't happening, but we also know certain rules don't apply if you're operating in the supernatural, so to speak. So yes, there's the protection and all that good stuff, but also like you have a responsibility to be vigilant. You have a responsibility, like if you have the means, make sure, you know, you get, you know, a little, what do they call it? Like a bug out kit, you know, just in case something goes down and you need to be able to be away from home for a little while for whatever reason. You need to be able to survive, because it's not far-fetched that we have another shutdown and you're 2 hours away from home with no gas, can't get any gas because there's either no electricity or they done shut down the grid in such a way that you can't access your money, which is another thing I kind of wanted to touch on, which is like, I'm all for, like, I'm naturally like, I'm what's the word? I'm very business inclined as a person. So I'm all for building businesses. But I think there's a bit of a danger with like the cryptocurrencies and the NFTs and everything right now, because it's like, you do realize that if the grid goes down, just like that, you have nothing. There is no, you can go withdraw it. Ain't no electricity. Your digital drawing that is supposed to be a form of currency is gone. And you worth just as much as the homeless dude that you stepped over on the way to go to the Gucci store or whatever. And it's also showing that even though there's a lot of like people, especially people that look like us, that are getting into it, we also got to understand it's not necessarily wealth. Just because you're a high income earner doesn't mean that you have wealth. Because we don't even own any land in America. We don't own, you know, we like to say that we own businesses, but we don't even own the building that our businesses have to rent in order to be, you know, Black excellence and all that other stuff that we talk about. And like you said before, talking about these corporations, like when you're talking about corporations, when you're talking about money that is produced by white America, that's a different type of money. That's not the type of money that rappers have or think that they have and get nice big grills and chains and everything else. White money, or even Wall Street money, is the money that says, I own the diamonds that I sold you to get that grill, that chain, that whatever. Not only that, but I also own the mine in South Africa where I'm getting the diamonds and the this and the that, and I probably own the workers. Like it's levels to this, right? And you can't compete with that by setting up an LLC.
I'm sorry.
That's not to say that an LLC isn't a good business or a good business strategy. I should say, but I would say, like, in this context, especially for ADOS Americans, American descendants of slavery, being that we are an extremely wealthless group. I would say Black business is more of a survival strategy than it is a freedom strategy. Because even going back to debt, I am very pro reparations because it is a debt that America has owed for a very long time, and it has only accumulated because the atrocities have continued to accumulate with our people. And so when you start to put those things into perspective, it's like we kind of have to think about certain things from a survival perspective. Because when it comes to the US or to the Ukraine or to Russia, the fact of the matter is we don't really have a dog in this fight. Like, we do, because America is where we live and things could change. But at the end of the day, like, even when we've had conflicts with all these other countries, it's always seemed like it was white America that had the conflicts and we came alongside them and made their enemies our enemies. But the fact of the matter is, you don't see suicide bombers going into Compton or going into Harlem and blowing themselves up. You don't see them, committing stabbings in Oakland. You don't see them, like, doing all the wild stuff that we normally see. It's not happening necessarily. They're not doing it to us. So kind of like how Muhammad Ali was with, like, the Viet Cong. He was like, they've never done anything to me. So what interest do I have in getting suited up and trained to go over there to kill people that I, quite frankly, have no qualms with? My biggest qualms that I have in life are with the people that live here, that make my life or my family's life or my children's life or my parents' life, or whoever. Those are the people that make their life harder. It sounds, I mean, and hopefully I don't oversimplify a very complicated situation, but at the same time, it kind of is that simple. It just kind of is.
Fair enough. I will say this, man. There's simplicity has become the most complex way to communicate these days, and I don't know. It's kind of hard to keep it simple with people these days. I'm not gonna lie, because it's a growing complexity to this world that we're living in, and it's crazy how simple things can. Again, I've seen simple things basically confound, our generation, previous generations, younger generations. I just think what we may consider simple things definitely go over a lot of people's heads and become more complex than they need to be. And it's all good. It is what it is. But I will say this. I know that, and touching on a subject we were touching on earlier, I know that you've been doing a lot of work in the community to get these simple things across, to be not just a man that talk. Berean Talks is not just a man that talks. You're actually you actually do a lot of action in the community as well. And that's definitely something I respect and something that needs to be touched on. And I noticed, not only noticed, but I saw that you and another community activist had a chance to go down to DC to basically touch on some of the things you guys have worked on for your community, to basically get out there and lay your hands on basically kind of open your arms up to the community and kind of show what you're about. You mind touching on that a little bit, just kind of get people introduced to what you guys got going on?
Yeah.
So first and foremost, shout out to King Jones, to my man King,
who is really like the mastermind behind everything that we kind of do in the community.
But I mean, really, like, to kind of put it in his words, it's kind of just the way we see it is we're just doing our part. It's not necessarily trying to take over anything. It's not necessarily trying to be the leaders of a movement. It's just we recognize, and kind of like in the words of Angela Davis, that we're accepting the things that we cannot change, but we are changing the things that we cannot accept. And so the things that we're able to have a little bit of control over or make an effort to put some change towards, we're trying to do that and utilizing our gifts and talents in order to do that. So Keem is he is a hell of a writer. And so it is, it's not uncommon for you to open up, the next edition of the paper. What's up?
No, I didn't. I wasn't trying to interrupt. Do you think, bro?
Oh, no, you good. You good.
Oh, no, you good. You good. But yeah. So when it comes to like the things that we've been out here kind of doing, he's just been looking for, I guess, kind of like the holes where needs need to be filled, and then we just go there. So and then he utilizes his talents to do so. So Keem is a hell of a writer, and it is not uncommon for you to go into the next edition of the Fayetteville Observer and find one of his opinion pieces in there. And he just got voted the #1 most popular piece of 2020 opinion article that was written.
I heard about that, man. Big congrats to man. Big congrats to the man.
Yeah, so he's
a beast. He is swell with it.
Oh my goodness, that is a huge accomplishment, man. Especially in a city like Fayetteville. For a lot of the people that are watching or that may be watching in the near future, all right, not everybody's from Fayetteville, and I didn't even know what that city was until I had a reason to be out there. But there is a whole culture out there. It's a whole world out there that is just like completely like, I don't even know how to explain it, but break down what it's like in the city of Fayetteville, downtown versus the suburbs versus the city versus just kind of get people to understand what that means to be the most popular writer in a city like Fayetteville.
I think it is. I think it's not a big deal, and it's a big deal all at the same time because of the networking opportunities that are available, because you never know, especially in Fayetteville, you never know who you're talking to. People that have connections to very high prominent people in the military, executives of companies, small business owners, families that just happen to, have a lot of stake in certain communities. And that's all just in the, little area of Fayetteville. Like I've met some very high caliber individuals strolling the streets of downtown. And so when you're in the Fayetteville Observer, kind of how Keem is, those are the people that read that. The people that are making the decisions that kind of change and affect life here in the city. So to be able to have that platform and to be able to speak for those that don't necessarily have or feel like they don't have a voice, that is one of the most powerful things that you can do. And I try to mirror that with my speaking ability, where I can try to, talk about different things that are going on, try to talk about and bring awareness to certain things that need to be dealt with, especially in our communities. And I love the fact that it's kind of like it's a very smooth exchange between the two of us, because it's very easy for us to pass things back and forth. We work super well together. I kind of, he's like I said, like he brainstorms everything, and I kind of just, kind of ask him like, all right, listen, where do I fit in the plan, and where do you need me to kind of take the reins so I can make this a much easier process for you? Because that dude will work himself to death and be up all night before events and different things to just get stuff together and make sure everybody has an amazing time. And that's the type of person that you want to be at the head of a movement, so to speak. And we don't see too much of that anymore. There's too much clout chasing. It's too many people that want to be in front of a camera and not people that are just concerned about getting the work done and then calling it a day. So I would say hopefully that's adequate enough to kind of like answer your question about, I guess like that's kind of what we've been doing in the community. But anybody that's interested, you can definitely either check out my Facebook page, check out Keem's Facebook page, and kind of see, just like scroll back through the stuff we've been doing throughout the past year. And we've definitely been active, and we try to always stay active for sure.
And I'll be sure to link y'all's socials and your all the links that you guys need to help support what you guys got going on. I'll make sure to post that in the description so people know what's going on. Because that's definitely an important piece of this puzzle, because organization is key. And just from my experience with dealing with y'all, I've seen y'all handle business on a level that, I mean, especially, and you know, you guys are around my age group too. Like, that's just something I haven't seen within my age group at all. Like, y'all are genuinely like the first people I've seen really get shit together on a level that most people don't even know how to do. And I respect that wholeheartedly, and I'm more than proud to get to know y'all, and more than proud to, you know, support y'all in any way that I can. And seeing that you guys actually genuinely care about, you know, not just your community, but just the world around you. Wherever you go, you guys are talking on a genius level, on an intellectual level, and it's always about support. You know, I've never seen you talk negatively or talk down to anybody, or, you know, put people in a position where they don't want to be in. So I genuinely appreciate where you guys are coming from, and that's, to me, one of the biggest deals. It's a genuine show of character, and I appreciate that. You know, definitely the world definitely needs some more of that. But I will say this, man. You guys have accomplished a lot. You guys have a lot more to go, a lot more things to do. And I will say this. Let me think. I have one last question to ask you personally, and it literally just escaped my mind, but I'm gonna get to it. Is there anything on your platform that people need to know as far as what to look forward to for your content?
I think I would definitely look out for more regularity. I'm in the process of getting some things structured so I can be a bit more regular with the content production. Definitely be anticipating new segments that I'm going to be adding to the show. I've been doing a bit of writing and brainstorming. So Berean Talk is certainly blossoming more into a variety of stories rather than, you know, one aspect of the show, or maybe the comedy sketch here, or a little short there. But it's going to be an all-encompassing thing that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy. They're going to be able to learn a lot, hopefully laugh a lot. And I think also, just with I think when I talk about on any platform that I'm on, I do talk about the ADOS movement, which American Descendants of Slavery. Number one is acronym just for the lineage that I'm a part of, a Black American. But then also, it is the name of a grassroots movement as well, started by, and shout out to the founders, Miss Yvette Carnell and Mr. Antonio Moore, and they have a Black first agenda. Not necessarily Black lives are the most important lives, but Black first in terms of we need to put ourselves first right now because we're in crisis mode. And they have a reparations first agenda, and that is the driving.
You know what time it is, yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's the driving force behind what they're all about. That's the driving force behind what I'm about. And you can check out some of my earlier videos. I've given the reasons for why reparations is not just like it's not a nicety. It's a debt for us building the richest nation in the world and not getting anything in return for it. I've also broken down on other episodes how it's a biblical concept that can be found all throughout the Bible, mandated in Torah, and just the way that America has conducted itself specifically with Black Americans, with ADOS, has been absolutely reprehensible, and we know it's on purpose. And for those of you all watching, you know that Israel has been able to break down some things for you guys, so you know that the American government is one of the most meticulous and strategic governing bodies in the world.
There's not a whole lot
that is slipping through the cracks that is happening that they're not really aware of, or putting in place that they don't necessarily understand the ramifications of that. So I would say definitely, you know, it's important, yes, to understand Black history. It's important to understand Black culture and all that good stuff. But quite frankly, we have too many people talking Black on the internet and not enough people getting in the streets and not enough boots on the ground. And I'm not talking about a protest where you smash somebody's windows in because of George Floyd. I'm talking about where you strategically, you know, are putting your actual bodies in the streets or on the sidewalks or in city council meetings, and being a constructive, disrupting force to the powers that be so we can get justice. I don't really care for social justice. I care for what's righteous. I care for what's biblical. I care for what's actual justice, for whoever that may be. It just so happens that the ones that need it the most here at home are people that look like me. And that's nothing that I'm ashamed of, because it's not my fault. It's not my parents' fault. It's not, you know, the Democrats' fault. It's not the Republicans' fault. It's America's fault. Deal with it as such. And I think once we can do that as a nation, we'll be, well, okay. Technically, I was going to say, if we can do that as a nation, we'll be fine. But the fact of the matter is, America's done. At this point, it's about like your individual salvation, and you get right with God, because like Rome is falling. Like
Babylon is falling.
You know,
it's falling.
Seriously, it's going down.
It's going
Yes, sir.
down. And I think, and the funny thing is, the more that you study the Bible, the more it's going to make sense.
And I don't say that it's
like to be preachy or to be somebody that sounds like they know a lot. It's just like God, the Most High, Yahweh, has always operated in patterns. He is cyclical, just like how he created the seasons to be cyclical, just how he created life to be cyclical. The way that he's always dealt with mankind is in a cyclical formation. You watch every great nation that's ever risen to be the world superpower. Look at all of the similar trends that they have right before they fall. It's the same thing every single time.
Just look them up for yourself.
Especially Rome. Definitely look at Rome.
Especially Rome. Especially because there's so much about the United States that is patterned after Rome. Even our government,
like the Senate. We have a Senate because of the Roman Empire.
The first republic.
We have a republic. We have a current operating republic because of the Roman Empire. We have symbolisms. We have governing forces. We have military might. We have all of these different things that are supposed to be mimicking which is hilarious how America is supposedly a Christian nation, but so much of it has been copied after what people would recognize as a very pagan and sinful nation that participated in the persecution of the early Christians and everything else. But somehow God put his stamp of approval on this.
Speaking of which, I just remember what I was going to ask you from earlier. I was going to ask you something in regards to, because you know we're touching on subjects that we were going on the first episode we did a feature together. We were talking about holy days, Sabbaths, etc., etc. What is your? This is gonna be the last question I ask you. This is gonna be the last topic, and then I'm gonna have to end the show. And the question I had in particular was your views on the new moons. What is your relationship with the new moon festivals or the new moons, not Sabbaths, but the new moon festivals, and you know the calendar being based around the new moons and stuff like that? What are your views on that? Because apparently today is the new moon.
Is it?
That people I should be.
Normally, for the most part, I go observe them. I know growing up, what we would do is, of course, we would go out to the show and then we would actually have people come over, almost like it wasn't really a Bible study because we never really studied the Bible for that gathering in particular. We just got together, we ate food, chilled, celebrated, because that's what the Torah commands. When there's a new moon, you have holy convocation, all that good stuff. It's interesting that Yah kind of commands us to be one with the earth, to be one with nature so much. And it's interesting, like it's almost hard to explain when you do start trying to keep that Hebrew calendar, and looking at the moon and kind of looking at the days and different things and counting the days. It's a very different feel from the Gregorian calendar. And it's something that kind of makes you feel like you're kind of more one. I don't know how to explain it except for like you kind of feel more with the earth. And I think that the creator made it that way on purpose. And it's considered like either taboo or kind of weird to be that way now. But that's how we as humans were created. We came from the earth, so it makes sense that we would be close relation to it and understanding it and how it works. But my on the new are, I think now I don't do it how I used to because I live like in a small apartment and I can't be blowing the shofar with like 5 neighbors. But um, I think it's important. I think if you do have the opportunity to kind of like celebrate it, especially with like friends and family, definitely do that. And then even reading the scriptures about it, about what people were doing around those times or what was going on around those times, and you'll kind of see some of the significance of it. Because even in scripture, when people give a time period of something happening, it'll say right before moon or after the new moon of the first month or whatever. And if we don't understand that, we won't necessarily understand how God's timeline works. It's no calendar. Does not go according to the Gregorian calendar as much as we would like to think over here in westernized, Christianized American thinking. That's not how it works. But I think the cool part is we all have grace to learn. And yeah, I guess it kind of answers that on it. I think it's great. And I think it's for a reason. And my own experience with it is that it has definitely helped me not just come closer to the Father, but also coming closer to understanding why He put certain things in place. You just trying to drop the heavy ones on them, huh, bro? Like you just, hey man, I'm with it. I haven't heard that in forever. Man, all I can tell the people is, regardless of whatever I myself or Mr. Israel has to tell you guys, just remember to face the facts. That's it. Just don't be don't be, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Face the facts. Absolutely. Absolutely. Always a pleasure. Uh Listen, it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning, folks. Stay tuned.